AKA Founders Day 1908.
I call this meeting to order. First thing we're going to deal with tonight is the student appeal. A motion is needed to go into closed session.
A motion is needed to go into a closed meeting to discuss the following item and subject pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, found in Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. The discussion and/or consideration of student appeal number 2025/26-5EH, which involves a request that a student be expelled from Suffolk Public Schools for 365 calendar days, where the discussion in an open meeting would involve disclosure of information contained in the student's scholastic record, which is authorized by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, found in Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A2.
Is there a motion?
Board Chair, I move we go into closed session.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to move into closed session made by Vice Chair Howell, seconded by Board Member Slinglove. Any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we're going to move to closed session. Reminder, all personal electronic devices are to stay out here. I'll see everyone in the back. Call this meeting back in order. A certification of the closed meeting is needed.
Resolution of certification of the closed meeting of January 15th, 2026 pursuant to Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia. Whereas the School Board of the City of Suffolk convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of the City of Suffolk hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, number one, only business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this resolution of certification applies. And number two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the School Board of the City of Suffolk.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Howell, seconded by Board Member Brittenham. Any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham.
Yes.
Board Member Fields.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins.
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove.
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell.
Yes.
Board Chair McGee.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we're going to be in recess till 7 p.m. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting to order. At this time, I'm going to ask Board Member Fields, will she lead the board in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we're going to recognize a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm going to ask Board Member Jenkins, will she read our mission statement?
The mission of Suffolk Public School is to produce 21st century learners that will become productive citizens in society, foster a dynamic, safe, and nurturing learning environment, partner with school community for the benefit of student and staff, strengthen the school division by employing a highly qualified and diverse staff, effectively and efficiently manage capital and human resources, effectively communicate to increase community investment.
Thank you. First item that we're going to deal with is the student appeal. Is there a motion?
Board Chair McGee, I move that we deny the recommendation for expulsion and recommend home education services and also recommend wraparound services.
Is there a second? All right, motion on the floor made by Vice Chair Howell to deny the recommendation for expulsion and recommend home ed services. Motion was seconded by Board Member Jenkins. Is there any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, next thing we have is public speakers. Oh, excuse me. Next thing we have is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Board Chair McGee, I move that we approve the agenda before us.
Second.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Howell to approve the agenda, seconded by Board Member Slinglove. Is there any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, next item, public speakers on agenda topics.
It is the intent of the school board to ensure that the affairs of the board be conducted in an open and orderly manner, that all persons desiring to address the board are afforded an opportunity to do so in the order in which they sign up to speak, that persons in attendance may observe and hear the proceedings of the board without distraction, and that the members of the board and board employees are able to transact the business of the board with minimal disruption. Any persons addressing the board shall, 1, confine their comments to matters germane to services, policies, and affairs of the school board or Suffolk Public Schools. 2, refrain from words or statements which from their usual construction and common acceptance are construed as insults and tend to incite violence or breach of the peace. 3, refrain from obscenity, vulgarity, or other breach of respect. 4, comply with the time limit for public comment as set by the board, which can be up to 5 minutes, unless the board, through the exercise of its discretion, decides to allow less than 5 minutes for public comment. 5, refrain from cumulative or repetitive remarks. And 6, refrain from making any comment regarding any pending student discipline or employee grievance matters. The appropriate form for such matters is the applicable administrative hearing provided by state law, or where appropriate, court proceedings. Persons must not engage in disorderly, disruptive, or boisterous conduct such as, but not limited to, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling or similar demonstrations that interrupts or disturbs the peace and good order of the meeting. Persons addressing the board may deliver to the board or its clerk written materials including reports, statements, exhibits, letters, or signed petitions and may also make use of any chart or graph during their verbal presentation. The school board welcomes comments from the public as appropriate. Board members will listen to public comments but will not comment, deliberate, or take action on them. The school board chair may direct the superintendent to investigate items and report back to the school board at a subsequent meeting. The chair or other presiding officer shall preserve decorum and shall decide all questions of public order subject to appeal to the board. At the request of the chair, a city police officer shall act as sergeant at arms at tonight's board meeting. That officer shall, under the direction of the chair or the presiding officer, have charge of the meeting area, the waiting areas and corridors adjacent thereto, and shall prevent disorder or interruption of the business of the board. Our first speaker is Dr. Judith Brooks Buck regarding school board policies.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and board members. I come to you all this evening with several concerns that I would like to share. As budget-conscious board members, I was shocked and saddened that one of your first acts was to give yourselves a 50% raise while simultaneously doubling the workload of employees who have to attend and prepare for 2 of these meetings each month. And this does increase the overtime and release time that you must give these employees. The length of the meetings does not seem to have changed much, but I digress. I want to focus your attention on policy 25/26-58 and the portion aspirational statements under number 7. In your new policy recommendations for all your notes, one of the recommendations says, once the school board approves an operating budget for Suffolk Public Schools, members of the school board are expected to advocate with members of the governing body, and I'm assuming that's the city council, for passage of the school board's adopted budget. The budget was passed and fully funded by the city council, I'm assuming usually in May. 6 months into the budget, for members of this board, the majority at least, have voted to audit the expenditures, claiming that fraud, waste, and abuse have occurred. Over the course of your last 2 meetings, last few meetings, you've agreed to seek for what was earlier described as a deep dive audit. The local newspapers proposed a forensic audit, quoting the vice chair, at that time the vice chair. Since a forensic audit is defined as an examination and evaluation of a firm's or individual's financial records, aiming to derive evidence that could be used in court or for legal proceedings. This type of audit covers a wide range of investigative activities and is often conducted to persecute a party for fraud, embezzlement, or other financial crimes. Such action does not suggest support for the budget, the superintendent, the finance department, or city council that approved the budget. My concerns include but are not limited to the use of $175,000 that is not included in the budget, and to look for crimes that have never been committed. It is totally averse to what you claim are your aspirational concerns. Two things that make the board's decision to hire the firm concern me as well. The first is that the board has directly intervened in the procurement process. The second, the same firm that cleared you would need to admit that they missed $175,000 of stolen funds to make the investigation even worthwhile. And the third would be that the same firm made headlines just recently, this week, while 1/3 of the city's budget is the school system's budget. It would hardly seem sensible to taxpayers that this same firm would find fraud, waste, and abuse. The city's budget was just cleared and found to be accurate, 100% accurate at this point. 3, some of the members who claim to have voted in the affirmative or who voted in the affirmative for this $175,000 action claim that they have the support of their communities. Well, for the past 16 years, Whaleyville has not found this to be a problem. Neither has Holy Neck, nor has the Chuckaduk community. Phyllis Barham, Ena Copeland, Loretta Mayo, nor Linda Bouchard found this to be a problem. The problem was not a problem until new board members came on board with these actions and concerns, not only for the forensic audit, but also for critical race theory, social emotional learning, and some other things that have been debunked. They came on board with folks who come to the school board meeting, and I call this group the Unsolicited Department of Public Education Efficiency in Suffolk. This group has also come on board and been on board since 2017. They have come before the board claiming poor test scores, poor reading scores, purchase cards that have been used illegally, schools unsafe, and boys using girls' bathrooms, none of which have been true. They've also come on board trying to remove me from office when I served for 3 terms, and Mrs. Byram from office. These folks have indicated that they represent a community, many of which they did not. Last March, I gave you envelopes that were full of information that I received from the VPAP website and also from forwarding information from your own files here in the clerk's office. I found that much of what I found, and some of it I gave to you just now, involved your own financial backgrounds or your own financial gifts, and those financial gifts came from one source. The source was really connected to a political party that supports those 3 things. They had nothing to do with student achievement, crime, or any of those things, but a political party's own political scheme to divert funds, public funds, to private sources. I want you to consider those things as you plan to abuse funds that have been approved for services that are not approved, that have nothing to do with student learning or safety. Thank you for your time.
There are no other speakers.
Thank you. All right, next going to be reports by the superintendent. I'm going to yield the floor to Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Chair McGee. I'm going to call to the podium our Communications and Community Engagement Officer, Ms. Antoinette Dickens, to provide the good news report, which will include a SMART benefit making a big impact on our employees. Due to the outstanding work from Dr. Branch and the team, the Virginia Department of Education Innovation Grant, SPS received $600,000. 5 elementary schools also received United States Department of Education Literacy State Development Grant for year 2, a $2,000 grant from the Suffolk Foundation through the Community Action of Virginia Coalition Fund, and we have several of our outstanding student athletes here in attendance that we want to recognize for our all-state teams from the fall sports season. Then I will conclude with the calendar of special events. Ms. Dickens?
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Good evening, Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, school board members, and of course, those here with us this evening. Tonight, I'm excited to share some very positive news about one of our most impactful employee benefits, the Suffolk Public Schools On-Site RX Pharmacy Program, and the financial progress it is already making for both our employees and our school division. Over the past year, we've seen a significant increase in staff participation. Nearly 50% of SPS employees are now using on-site RX, which more than doubles last year's participation rate. This growth shows that the program is not only being widely used, but it is now actively generating cost savings for the school division, and the money saved can be reinvested to help healthcare payroll deductions as low as possible for employees. We're incredibly encouraged by the participation we've seen so far, and we will continue promoting this benefit so that even more employees can take advantage of what it offers. Because the more our staff uses on-site RX, the more we strengthen our benefits program, reduce long-term costs, and reinvest those savings back into our SPS people. Through this on-site RX pharmacy program, we're making a meaningful difference for our employees' health and wellness and for their wallets. I'm also excited to share that we've been awarded a Virginia Department of Education Innovation grant to expand our middle school STEM programming through Project Lead the Way. This grant supports a critical next step in completing our division's strategic K-12 STEM framework, which is built on 3 progressive phases. K through 5, STEM exploration, 6th through 8th, STEM identification, and then of course our 9th through 12th grade STEM specialization. While our elementary and high school STEM programs are established, this funding allows us to fully implement that missing and vital middle school STEM identification phase. Beginning with 6th grade, students at John F. Kennedy Middle School and Kings Fork Middle School will participate in the Project Lead the Way Gateway curriculum through their career and technical education exploratory classes. This new STEM identification program aims to create a seamless pathway into our high school STEM specialization programs. The goal ultimately is to provide students with advanced hands-on learning experiences that strengthen problem solving, critical thinking, and applied reasoning skills, which we know are the very skills students need to be successful in high-demand STEM careers. In addition to Project Lead the Way, this initiative will integrate GoTech curriculum and hands-on equipment, strengthening the connection between classroom learning and real-world applications, while aligning instruction with regional workforce needs. This grant ensures that identified middle school students will receive a cohesive, progressive sequence of STEM learning experiences, prepare them to transition directly into high school pathways, and ultimately complete our Suffolk Public Schools K-12 STEM strategic framework. So we're proud of this investment in our students and our workforce, pipeline and in our future, and we're grateful to the Virginia Department of Education for supporting this important work. We've been selected as a recipient of funding through the Comprehensive Literacy State Development, or the CLSD grant, a highly competitive statewide grant opportunity focused on strengthening early literacy outcomes. In this program's first year, 90 schools across 33 divisions were selected for the funding. And in this second year, following an even more competitive application process, 106 schools from only 27 divisions statewide were awarded the CLSD grant, which makes this recognition even more meaningful. We're proud to share that the Virginia Department of Education awarded the funding to the following schools: McBinn Junior Elementary School, Booker T. Washington Elementary School, Elephants Fork Elementary, Hill Point Elementary, and Kilby Shores Elementary School. This grant will provide additional literacy resources and instructional supports to ensure that these schools have the structure and the materials that they need to strengthen the literacy instruction and accelerate, student achievement. This funding represents another important step in our continued focus on early literacy, and we're grateful for this recognition and support as well. And Suffolk Public Schools has also been awarded yet another grant. We've been awarded a $2,000 grant from the Suffolk Foundation through the Community Action Coalition of Virginia Fund. This funding will support a 6-month problem-based STEM learning project for approximately 670 6th grade students at Kings Fork Middle School, John F. Kennedy Middle, and John Yates Middle. This project will center on the Saunders Superfund site a former wood treating facility that resulted in soil and groundwater contamination affecting Godwin's Mill Pond, a critical drinking water source for more than 30,000 Suffolk residents, and an important part of the Chuckatuck Creek watershed. Through this environmental case study, students will explore the relationship between human activity, ecosystems, and water quality within their own communities. This initiative strengthens STEM literacy, inquiry-based learning, and environmental stewardship, and we're grateful to the Suffolk Foundation and the Community Action Coalition of Virginia for their continued support. Their investment allows our students to engage in authentic learning experiences that build both academic skills and community awareness. And tonight, the reason all these parents and students are here, we are proud to recognize some truly outstanding student athletes who have earned all-state honors, one of the highest recognitions in high school athletics. We're proud to recognize 4 Suffolk Public Schools football players who earned all-state honors. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium to be recognized. Mr. Tyrell Grant Jr. from Nansemond River High School, first team. Yes. Mr. Alvin Holland from Kings Fork High School, second team. Corian Key, also from Kings Fork High School, second team. And Mr. Joshua Pittman from Kings Fork High School, first team. Now, Mr. Pittman is not here with us tonight. He was actually an early graduate from Kings Fork High School, and he is currently enrolled as a freshman at the University of Pittsburgh, where he's actually already playing at the collegiate level. Yes. We're also proud to recognize 6 competition cheerleaders who earned all-state honors. Please come forward when I call your name. Ms. Simone Ellis from Nansemond River High School, first team. Miss Ivania G. Starb from Nansemond River High School, first team. Nelissa Hafner, also from Nansemond River High School, first team. Silen Dyson from Nansman River High School, first team. Aaliyah Harrell from Kings Fork High School, second team. And Samaya Solomon from Kings Fork High School, second team. Yes, that's fine. Take the sticky note off. You just take it off. It's fine. It's all fine. Being an all-state athlete means that these students are not only among the best in our region, but among the very best in the entire Commonwealth. This honor reflects their dedication, discipline, leadership, and commitment, both on the field and in the classroom, and we are very proud of their accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dickens, and that just shows what happens when we invest in our athletic infrastructure. All of these scholarships, first team All-State, second team All-State. I was talking to my man because I thought he was going to UVA, but then he told me he was going to Tech. Surprised me right there, but it's outstanding that we have people that are already taking advantage of some of the new NCAA rules and starting for their spring ball earlier and just getting the opportunity to play at the next level. And I know the parents are happy because they're getting full scholarships. So thank you. Being All-State is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Mr. McGee, for the calendar of special events, second school board meeting tentatively scheduled for January 29th. Next month is School Board Appreciation Month, Career and Technical Education Month, of course, African American History Month, American Heart Month, National School Counseling Week for all of our counselors to do such a tremendous job supporting our kids and our staff is February 2nd through the 6th. National Wear Red Day. National Wear Red Day for Heart Disease Awareness is February 6th. Our first February school board meeting at 5 p.m. at Suffolk City Halls on the 12th. We're going to ask all of our board members to wear red on that day. Ms. Gardner will be sending you a reminder. Our 100th day of school is one day before that on February 11th. National School Resource Officer Appreciation Day is February 15th. Thank you to all of our SROs for helping to keep our schools safe. Thank you to Sergeant Key, working with Dr. Brown, Chief Bowie for some additional SROs that are now going to be starting with us very soon. President's Day holiday, no school for students or staff, February 16th. Our interim reports will be issued 22 days into the second semester on February 26th, which is also the same time of our second monthly school board meeting. That's when Ms. Forsman and I will present the annual Suffolk Public Schools budget. And our Parent-Teacher Conference Day, which is also no school for students, will be February 27th. That concludes the calendar of special events, Mr. McGee, and the Good News Report.
Thanks, Dr. Gordon, and thanks again. Congrats to all the student athletes here tonight. Next item on the agenda is going to be our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Board Chair McGee, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve the consent agenda by Vice Chair Howell, seconded by Board Member Slinglove. Is there any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham.
Yes.
Board Member Fields.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins.
Yes.
Board Member Riddick.
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove.
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell.
Yes.
Board Chair McGee.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Before moving forward, I'm going to yield the floor back to Dr. Gordon to introduce a new team member.
Thank you so much, Mr. McGee. I'm going to call to the podium our new Director of Special Education, Ms. Kimberly Warholic. Ms. Warholic has been serving in Suffolk Public Schools in multiple roles. Primarily has been at Kings Fork Middle School. She loved Nansman River High School so many times that she actually worked there 3 times. She was also at Kings Fork High School. Currently, she serves as one of our coordinators of special education, has done a tremendous job for the team. Ms. Warholic, I'm going to give you this opportunity right now to address the board and also introduce any of your family members or friends that might be here in attendance.
Thank you. Good evening, Board Chair McGee, Vice Chair Howell, School Board Members Slinglove, Riddick, Brittingham, Jenkins, and Fields. Good evening, Dr. Gordon and my SPS family. First, I have to say how fitting it is that we are gathered in this building tonight. Nearly 25 years ago, I began my career in education right here. I get a little emotional. Right here in this building, I was a provisionally licensed special education teacher. And here I am being introduced as the director of special education. For that, I'm very humbled, and I feel I've come full circle. Here with me tonight is my husband, Brian, my dear friend and first teacher mentor, Kathy Queen, and a few members of what I truly believe is the best special education department we have ever had. And with me in spirit is the late Talmadge Darden. He was the first principal of Kings Fork Middle School and the first person to see the leadership, potential in me long before I ever could. So with that, tonight is not simply a step up or a promotion or another professional move. It represents the realization of a goal that I set for myself almost 20 years ago. Every experience, every role, and every position I have held within this school division has prepared me for this moment. I would not change a single part of the path that I've taken to get here. I am truly thankful, grateful, and honored to be entrusted with leading this division as the Director of Special Education. I look forward to continuing our work in support of our administrators, teachers, staff, communities, families, and most importantly, our students. So thank you all for this incredible opportunity.
Congrats again, Ms. Wahalik, and we're looking forward to all the great things you're going to bring to the table now, serving in that leadership role. Congrats. All right, moving on to unfinished business. All right, we have 17 different ordinances. These were first brought before the board at our December 11th meeting. They're here for a second read tonight for action. I'm willing to handle all of these collectively. If there are any ordinances that a board member would like to pull out separately to have discussion, I'm going to open the floor this time for any recommendations.
Yes, there are several ordinances that I would like to pull out to be considered separately. The first ordinance is ordinance number 1 under unfinished business, ordinance 25/26-58, ordinance number 15, ordinance 25/26-72, and ordinance number 17, ordinance 25/26-74.
Let me make sure I have it right, Mr. Riddick. 1, 15, and 17? All right. Anybody else?
Board Chair McGee, I move that we approve all of the ordinance under unfinished business, excluding item number 1, item number 15, and item number 17.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor made by Vice Chair Hell to approve all ordinances under old business with the removal of item number 1, number 15, and number 17. It was seconded by Board Member Brittenham. Is there any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham.
Yes.
Board Member Fields.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins.
Yes.
Board Member Riddick.
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove.
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell.
Yes.
Board Chair McGee.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we're going to discuss ordinance number 2526, TAC 58. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Riddick.
I just had a question I wanted to get clarity on. When we reference the 12 a calendar year, are we referencing a 12-month calendar year beginning in January, or are we going with Suffolk Public Schools fiscal calendar year, which begins July 1?
Mr. Wall, I'm going to ask you for clearance on that.
Where it mentions calendar year, it's going to be January to December.
Did you have any further, Mr. Riddick?
Is that in concrete that it has to be January to December, or does the board have any latitude to make it in line with our operational calendar?
Yeah, the board could actually indicate that they would like for that to be the school year versus the calendar year, January through December. But generally speaking, whenever you find something in statutes or what have you that indicates calendar year, it's always going to be January through December unless the public body indicates otherwise.
Did you have any further, Mr. Riddick?
I don't have any further questions. I'm just curious to see how the board feels about that, whether it's traditional calendar year or our school calendar year.
Appreciate it. Did any other board members have any discussion for ordinance number 1 under unfinished business?
It just makes sense to me to follow the calendar year because that follows the role of the board members. Like the chair has a role for a calendar year, as does the vice chair. When a board member is newly elected, their years begin with January and end in December. So it just makes sense to me to follow that.
Thank you for that, Dr. Brittenham.
Thank you, Board Chair McGee. I've had issues with this policy for a while, and my concern is that we just continue to add more and more policing into a policy that I think is completely unnecessary. As board members, we should be able to govern ourselves without having to have policies written out. It's a big waste of time on board resources and board business when we get wrapped up in all of the frivolous accusations where we should be spending more time on board business. Particularly, I would say our time would be better spent in student achievement. So I continue to oppose the entirety of this policy because it gets board members into the weeds and keeps us from being more functional and student achievement driven. Thank you.
Anybody else? Is there a motion for this policy?
Board Chair McGee, I move to approve ordinance 25/26-58.
All right, motion was made to approve ordinance 25-26-58 by Vice Chair Howell. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion was seconded by Board Member Fields. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
At the risk of being redundant, after we make our decision on this tonight, I will also ask if the board would consider sending this back to policy review to also include the language under that board members cannot request that a report be generated by the office of the school attorney or clerk that will require considerable work or time unless the majority of the board agree with it. Lately, I've been watching the volume of work that is not pertinent to day-to-day operations as we're currently going through it. Our attorney has been bombarded with a bunch of research and data and reports that has nothing to do with any of the business that is at hand on our agendas, and I would like to make sure that we don't just extend that same right to the superintendent, but we also extend it to all of our staff, especially with us meeting twice a month. They still have a day-to-day operation that they expect to perform. And I've watched how reports have been strategically requested to burden our staff down. So I would ask that this be sent back to policy review to allow us to include that same condition to the rest of the school board staff, which includes the school board attorney and the school board clerk. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Riddick. Anybody else? Madam Clerk, we're ready.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham.
No.
Board Member Fields.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, next item we're going to discuss under new unfinished business is going to be item number 15, which is ordinance 25/26-72. And again, I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Riddick.
Chair McGee, this was done in error as far as pulling this one out. I do apologize to the board. I don't have any questions at this time regarding this ordinance. My concern is the agenda of overall the infiltration of charter schools and how it seems as if this board is being, well, the boards across the state is being forced to open up a narrative to allow charter schools, but I'll address that later.
I appreciate that. Board Member Riddick, did anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Dr. Brittenham.
I move that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
All right, motion has been made by Board Member Brittenham to approve ordinance 25/26-72. It was seconded by Vice Chair Howell. Any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
No.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, last item under unfinished business, we're going to discuss ordinance 25/26-74. And again, I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Riddick.
Thank you. My concerns is the language in this policy, and I don't know if we have any latitude to change it, but it definitely concerns me. I lost my page. Okay, there we go. It says, at the direction of the school board, charter personnel may be employees of the school board. I can't come to terms with that. And how you're taking away strategic resources from a school division. We know what drove this and legislation in Richmond, but I'm asking that this board, if you don't want to vote it down, at least table it to see what else is going to come out of Richmond that could try to right some of the wrongs that has been done. But I am not a fan of that language, and I'm curious, does it have to be in there? Are there any parameters that the board have in place in determining which employee or what type of employee could serve in a dual role as an employee of a public schools, yet also of a charter school? And does this go to the extent of even board members? So that's where my concern is. I understand what the machine was trying to do in Richmond as it relates to its plan for public education. But how do we protect Suffolk Public Schools from what this agenda was trying to push through?
Thanks, Board Member Riddick. Attorney Waller, if there's anything you would like to speak to, go ahead and do so.
Yeah, the language that Board Member Riddick is referencing is language taken directly from the Code of Virginia. Notice that it says at the discretion of the school board. One of the things that would need to happen should someone request a charter school and this board approves that request, you will then have to enter into a contract with them. And under the terms of your contract with that charter school, you could either allow for personnel to be employees of the school board or not allow for personnel of the school board to become employees of the charter school. So it is at that point that you would be able to exercise your discretion.
Thanks, Attorney Waller. One follow-up for this. I know you said it was state code, but was this policy recommended by VSBA?
It's in the VSBA model policies, but they have simply taken the language straight from the state code.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else like to discuss this?
I just want to, for clarity, emphasize this is required. State code required. the language is flexible, but the presence of this is required, correct?
That is correct.
Board Chair, I move that we approve this motion.
Second.
All right, motion was made by Board Member Brittenham to approve ordinance 25/26-74. It was seconded by Vice Chair Howell. Is there any discussion?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Attorney Waller, are we at any legal risk if the board tabled? I know it's a motion on the floor already, but I'm just asking for clarity. If the board tabled this particular policy, it's not a no, it's not going into policy, it is pending.
No, there would not be any problem if the board was to do that. Keep in mind that whether it's in your policy or not, if it's part of state code, you're going to still be required to follow it.
Right, and I fully understand that. It's just sometimes when we make things policy, it can be, trying to choose my words wisely, sometimes things can get lost from writing to implementation. We don't know what the new General Assembly may do. And I would hate for us to have a policy, then have to come back and change the policy again. I know we were talking about being more efficient, and that was one of the ways, because this wasn't about student achievement. This was a educational, political agenda policy as to how it got to us from the state. It had very little to do with making sure Virginians could learn and grow. Based off of my advocacy in Richmond as well as in D.C. that I've done last year. So thank you for answering my questions. I'm ready to vote.
No other discussion. Madam Clerk?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
No.
Board Member Riddick?
No.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, moving on to new business. First item we're going to deal with, payment of bills and payroll. Is there a motion?
Board Chair McGee, I move to approve the payment of bills and payroll for December 2025.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Harrell to approve the bills and payroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Who's second? Seconded by Ms. Fields. Any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk?
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
No.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
No.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, moving to item number 2 under new business, school board meeting schedule. Just to give the board a little bit of background, I called each and every one of you to discuss this. The reason why this is on the agenda tonight is at our organizational meeting last Tuesday, the board voted unanimously to change our meeting schedule. Our first meetings, we decided to make that our business-only meeting, starting at 7 p.m., and we decided to make our second meeting a work-only meeting, starting at 5 p.m. One thing that wasn't thought about at the time was student appeals, just like we had tonight. How are we going to deal with that? So my recommendation, you guys all heard it from me, we need to be consistent no matter what we decide. We need to have a time for both meetings that we know is set in stone and the public knows it's set in stone. That way there's no confusion. At this time, I'll open up for any discussion and ideas on what you guys would like to see.
Board Chair McGee, I just want to offer to the full board, later in the evening of the organizational meeting, I confirmed with my counterpart, Councilman Wright, Councilwoman Wright, that city council meetings, both meetings every month start at 6 p.m., and that has been the practice for a while. So while we're discussing, I would just entertain the idea that maybe we start both of our meetings at 6 twice a month, so the public is in a rhythm, informed, and ready, just as they have been and are for city council meetings. That's my only suggestion.
Thanks, Vice Chair Howell. Anybody else?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
Once again, I feel this board is overzealous. You're trying to fix something that's not broke. The only people who had a concern about it was staff, and I'm not saying ignore staff. I understand you worked an 8-hour day, and our meetings are lengthy. but that's something we can control as far as the time we spend at our meetings. We are kind of different from city council. I understand the board always compare us to city council when it's convenient for their narrative, but the reality is city council don't deal with the family unit as we deal with family unit. We're dealing with the family unit as you saw tonight, parents getting off from work, commuting from wherever they work, surviving car, gridiron, traffic in our city to get here, pick their children up, come and celebrate their children. The traditional workday ends at 5 p.m. A lot of Suffolkians that live in my borough, as in yours, Chair McGee, don't work in the city. They have to commute. And they have a large family. So to ask them to rush home, grab a child, don't prepare dinner, it's not thinking about the citizen. To make a change that none of the citizens have come to the dais and asked for is premature, especially if you're not going to involve the input of the citizen. When we have public comment, that is at an hour where citizens can come and speak. When you look at city council meetings, you have a lot of people who are either retired or in a different type of financial situation where they can come at that early hour and speak. We're dealing with families from all different social economic backings. I asked before the board make a abrupt decision to move up a business meeting that will impact families of students who we have not engaged in conversation with as a whole, that we just leave it alone because none of them asked us to do anything about it. In regards to the closed session hearings, I suggested to the chair, I don't know if it was related to the other board members in your conversation with them or not, I don't know. I suggested because closed sessions and hearings are confidential, just move it to the second meeting anyway, because the public don't get access to that meeting. That way we already can move with what everyone already put on the books. But I asked the board to slow down on swiftly making changes without consulting our constituents, because against how we have been operating, we don't work for the loud minority. We work for everyone, and we need to give everyone an opportunity to have their voices heard before we make decisions that's going to adversely impact them. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Riddick. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this matter that hasn't spoken yet?
Yes.
Dr. Brittenham.
Chair McGee, thank you. I agree with the comments that were made by Vice Chair Howell that we should set the meetings to be at the same time, and 6 o'clock sounds like a reasonable, rational time frame for our meetings to start. And again, City Council does the same thing, so it seems like a reasonable move for us to go ahead and cohesively say that both of our meetings each month will be at 6 o'clock. A little caveat to that conversation, I would like to see the board again this year do the very best they can to have as many of our meetings at City Council chambers. I think about the time it takes for our staff to set up the day before and break down the day after. I know that both of our clerks spend a lot of time preparing and in helping to set up. I know that Mr. Littlefield spends a lot of time setting up for our meetings here. I would like for us as a board, to the best of our ability, to take into consideration how much easier it is for staff members to just walk into City Council chambers and start the meeting up for us, 30 minutes, 40 minutes at the most, versus a full day before and a full day after. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Chair McGee.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Well, I just want to go on record as a reminder for everyone, based on what Board Member Brittingham brought up. Every single year, well, really, starting before the year starts, Ms. Gardner reaches out to her counterpart in the city and asks when we're able to use chambers, and we are at the mercy of their availability and schedule. It's not that there's not been effort made. They host, in addition to city council meetings, they have planning commission meetings and public safety meetings. And so even this year, before December, Ms. Gardner knew what the availability was per city council. So I would say if that doesn't seem sufficient, then I guess each of us need to make phone calls to the mayor and our counterparts, because we have no control over that room and when we're allowed to be in it. Back to the original discussion with Mr. Riddick, I would like some clarity from him if I could. So if we start our first meeting at 7, and then the second meeting we said would be work session, there would be no public comments, that would be at 5. Would it then be reasonable to, any disciplinary hearings that pop up for the first meeting, start those at 6? Because it seems cumbersome if we start business at 7, but then we have to add a disciplinary hearing and we're made aware of it, that's at 7, then really the business isn't starting till 8. And I think that that's a little bit, for our staff, I mean, I understand, you know, we have a role here, but part of that is being the bridge between the community and the staff. And so recognizing they've been at work since 8 a.m., I would just suggest if we're going to stay at 7, then we need to make note somewhere that any disciplinary or personnel hearing we have needs to be scheduled for 6, and we all need to be ready for that.
Before you respond, Mr. Riddick, I wanted to let the vice chair know that I think that's the issue right now. You look at tonight's meeting, you know, we were scheduled for a 7 p.m. start time, but we had a disciplinary appeal on the front end. We don't have those every month. I think, you know, making schedules the month of is going to confuse board members and the public, not having that consistent time. So if we're going to keep the appeals and closed session hearings on the first meeting, my recommendation would be we set it in stone that 6 p.m. is the start time, not for the business meeting, but for any closed hearing. That way board members know, hey, if there's a closed hearing for an appeal, we're going to be here at 6. The second thing I wanted to bring to the board was the discussion of dinner at our first meetings. Do you guys want to continue doing dinner, or is that something we want to scrap the remainder of the year? Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
Well, in staying in line with the agenda, the task at hand is our school board meeting schedule. And I definitely understand what Vice Chair House said, as, you know, I have to be at work sometimes by 5:45 a.m., work a 12-hour shift, drive an hour and 15 minutes, then come here and stay to whatever time we get out and be ready to go to work again tomorrow or the next day, as I have to do tonight. So I definitely understand the burden that our staff goes through firsthand. What I suggested earlier is that any closed hearings or sessions are moved to our second meeting, because those items are not public items. Those items are things that we can go in the back, have our discussion, but to be efficient, we have to stick to the policy, which say it's 20 minutes for the item. We can't give blankets of how long this person wants to talk in closed session. That's what we ran into last month. But we have to be a stickler about our time and mainly scheduling. I'm not opposed to having a closed session at 6 o'clock if that's the will of the board. However, the public meeting start at 7. This is also twofold. I am not just an elected official. I work a full-time job, not in the city, and I have to commute to get here. So when we move it up earlier, and I see this as something that has not been requested by the citizens, it gives a perception of something else. And I don't want to believe the something else. To be more efficient, Vice Chair, if the will of the board is 6 p.m. for closed sessions, public disciplinary hearing and personnel hearings only, I'm fine with that. And the school board meetings start at 7. That would be perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Dr. Gordon, I want to bring you into this conversation and get your feedback, and Ms. Gardner, regarding discipline and appeals. What would it look like if the board were to decide to move those to the second meeting?
Thank you, Chair McGee. So I think, the discipline appeal piece, personnel appeal piece are always unpredictable. Like, we never know when that's going to occur. And we always try to time things so that when the board is hearing a discipline situation, I'll use that one specifically, it's usually within the window of that suspension time frame. So that might be something to think about. Regarding the two meetings, as you all know, and many board members know, we had made at the last meeting, I had made the comment that, as Dr. Brittingham said, the three days it takes to set it up here, if we are going to reserve the second meeting for just a work session and the first meeting for just a business, I don't see why we can't just combine those into one day. I think it still serves your same purpose of being able to do things, and you already had discussed the flexibility of canceling a second meeting if need be. So dividing it up into two separate days, while I understand the goal, I think if you're doing that, that's what you've already accomplished in the past on one day. So that would just be my only perspective, Mr. McGee.
I appreciate that, Dr. Gordon. So I guess, just a proposal for the board to think about, instead of changing it to what we just talked about, consider just going back to how we were doing it last year. Anybody? Go ahead, Mr. Rick.
Last year it was 2 meetings a month and not one. In the preceding years, those meetings were too long. We had one meeting that was 12 hours long. That's insane. And our staff and board members were kept here, and I begged for us to adjourn and come back later, but that was completely ignored. It was inconsiderate, and we stayed here 12 hours to rush a decision. So if we're going to look at getting out on time, then what I suggest is put your meeting on a time clock where you say the meeting needs to be over by 10 p.m. And that means everything has to be strategic. When you're having your presentations, only the staff that is essential to the presentation should be present. After their part is over, it's like we've been doing in times past. They leave when they get the green light from Dr. Gordon to go. But our aspect, even in our comments, going back and forth, same way we got time constraints on the speakers, then let's be equal across the board, even with the presentations. And we just have to be more efficient with how we facilitate the meeting. So if we're going to go back to the one meeting, then we need to put a time limit on that meeting.
Let me clarify. I appreciate that, Mr. Reddick. I meant going back last year to having the first meeting with the work session up front at 5 p.m., then starting our business meeting at 7. The second meeting would just stay a business meeting. That's what I was referring to.
I'm fine with that, if that's the will of the board. But if we're going to do it that way still to be efficient, since the concern that I'm hearing from Dr. Gordon and some board members, we want to be more considerate of our staff time, I fully agree. Let's put a hard deadline time that if this meeting is not done by 10, it is tabled to the following meeting. And that way it forces us to be more deliberate with what we're doing, and we're not just rambling on.
I appreciate that. Did any other board members have any other discussion?
Board Chair McGee, I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I need someone to refresh my memory. Last week, we changed it from what we did last year, and I'm not exactly sure why that was proposed and brought to the table. Why did we change it from last year to begin with? What was the...
Well, during the organizational meeting, we have to decide on meeting times. The motion, there was discussion and motion made by Board Member Riddick for what we voted on unanimously. But, yeah, that was it. Did you want to ask him, or?
I can answer her question because I don't think your response gave an accurate, full depiction of what transpired. There were some concerns about 2 meetings. Some of the same concerns we heard now, the impact they have on our staff. And it was, okay, how do we decide to go forward? Do we want to consolidate and just have 1 meeting, or do we want to move forward with the 2? That's what drove the motion. My motion came out as a way to try to make it be a win-win, where, okay, the board, we're still having 2 meetings where we have an opportunity to address pertinent business matters at least twice a month, but it also relieves some of the burden from staff where you're not rushing to have full business meetings every 2 weeks, basically. So that's why the motion was business meetings start at 7, gives our staff time to take a break. The second Thursday of the month, the 4th Thursday was work session only. That way our staff is not trying to gather information for a first work session and then come back with another work session. It gives them the whole month to prepare information, because, our board, we've been asking a lot of questions. We got a lot of, we want a lot of information. So it gives Dr. Gordon and his staff ample time to prepare, because that part will be at the ending of the month. So that's how we got there. And that's why I believe majority, all of the board members approved it unanimously, because it was pretty much bridging, as I saw it, what staff was requesting and what majority of the board wanted to remain with, which was the 2 meetings a month.
Thanks for the explanation, Mr. Riddick. Ms. Lingloff, did you have any further? Good. Before I entertain a motion, I want to see if Ms. Fields or Ms. Jenkins has anything to add to this discussion.
Well, after listening to the discussion, I'm under the impression that 1 meeting per month would have a lot of benefits. First of all, we could schedule that 1 meeting at the City Hall so that we don't have to do this setup and breakdown, and that would relieve some of the responsibilities of the staff that's setting this up and breaking it down. It would be cost-effective for us to do it that way. Cutting out the dinner that we have would also be a cost-effective measure that would save us time so that we can have the meetings. I would like to see us at our meeting, when we do have our meetings, I think that the business and the work sessions can be accomplished if we work together with intention, if we move through our meetings with purpose, we can get it done. That's my view of it at this point.
Thank you, Board Member Fields.
And the meetings could start around, the work session could start around 5 o'clock, and the business meeting at 7. That's my view.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Board Member Jenkins?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say, when we were having 1 meeting a month, it was great, especially for people who do work. But like Board Member Riddick said, it has to have some structure where we have some time. So if we go back to 1 meeting, I have no problem with that, but it needs to be structured where we can't run on till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. 2 meetings, that is a lot on our staff. The food part, the food is great, but when you look at how much it costs to feed everybody, that's a lot of money. Food is going up, and I understand that too, so maybe we can work around that. But I would prefer to have 1 meeting, and we're all intelligent and professional people. If we could structure it so that things can get done, and maybe we can have that discussion before meetings, call each other just like you did, and talk about the things that's on the agenda, and we won't have so much back and forth. And to stop that, put a limit on us going back and forth so we can structure the meeting that way. But I am for 1 meeting, but the majority rules, but it has to be structured.
I appreciate that feedback, Ms. Jenkins. The only thing I want to, throw out there, we did have a citizen speak tonight about the board giving ourselves a 50% raise. And if we were to go back to 1 meeting, I think this board needs to consider reversing that raise and going back to what the pay used to be.
Board Chair McGee, can I just offer some input since there's not a motion on the floor?
Go ahead.
I agree we don't, the dinner could be an unnecessary expense. It seems we're split between 2 meetings and 1 meeting. From my vantage point, a compromise that simplifies all this might be simply to have 2 meetings on the schedule, both start at 6 p.m., and then it's up to the superintendent and the chair what the content of those meetings are, whether it be a work session or it be a business meeting, or there's disciplinary hearings involved, because I do think we have to respond in a timely fashion when a discipline hearing needs to be heard. So we can't necessarily guarantee we can put it off until the end of the month. Am I correct in that that's allowance the superintendent and the chair would have the ability to determine if a work session needs to be had or if it's strictly business or whatnot? Is that correct?
Yeah, currently, the chair and the superintendent sets the agenda for the meeting anyway, according to your policy. So whether you have 1 or 2 meetings, those 2 individuals would be involved in setting the agenda.
Thank you. So it would seem that the simple answer, to not belabor this further, is do we want to just have 2 meetings scheduled for 6 p.m. and then the second one is canceled if it's determined not to be necessary? Whether it's a work session that's not necessary or there's no disciplinary hearing, can we just get in a rhythm where we're not tossing around numbers for the next couple months and kind of winging it? That's my thought.
Mr. Riddick?
My only concern is the concern that I've raised since this issue has come up. If it's going to be with the intent of the general business meeting beginning at 7 p.m., I have no opposition. But moving the general business meeting to start at 6 p.m., and I want that in stone, because we leave here and it be in the spirit of something and it change, and nobody wants to have dialogue as to why and how it changed. So in regards to closed sessions, all of those things can be done at 6, whether it's a closed session hearing or work session. Only thing I'm asking is stop crowding the agendas with a lot of closed sessions, hearings, and then we're crowding a lot of work session that going to be lengthy in time, and then want us to have a hot topic issue on the agenda. That's not fair. I will add to what Vice Chair House said. Let's put a hard end time at 9 o'clock. That way we have to be efficient.
Thank you, Board Member Riddick. All right, if we're done discussing, I'll entertain a motion if anyone has a motion.
Board Chair McGee,
Go ahead,
I
Vice
move
Chair.
that we just set 2 meetings every month at 6 p.m. and simplify this for the community, for Ms. Gardner, all of our staff, and just plan for those two meetings to be at 6 p.m. accordingly.
I second.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Chair Howell to have 2 meetings each month set at 6 p.m. Did I miss anything else? Motion was seconded by Board Member Brittingham. Is there any discussion?
Was Brittingham or Slingluff? I heard Slingluff, I'm sorry.
It's both, okay. Seconded by Board Member Slingluff and Board Member Brittingham. Is there any discussion? Board Member Riddick?
I hate to keep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
Karen.
Okay, so I heard the motion, but it seems like it should have been a lot more to it instead of just saying that. I'm not saying I don't agree with what you said. I'm just saying we said a whole lot with stipulations, and I didn't hear any of that in there, with hard deadline and all that.
So I'm going to ask Vice Chair Howell, can she explain her motion?
Okay, so I'm willing to add to my motion that, we do not require dinner. I'm not sure, I'd like Dr. Gordon and the attorney and Sean's, Board Chair McGee's input on this, if it is reasonable to set a time limit on a business meeting, because we know there's a whole new administration for Virginia coming, and that means there's likely about to be legislation dumped on us. And so, if we have we say that our business meetings have to end at 9 PM, but we've got more legislation we have to handle. I don't know that we can reasonably expect to be able to abide by that every month. That's my concern. I'm willing to amend my motion and say we have 2 meetings that begin at 6 PM and we do not require dinner, but I'm not sure how reasonable and responsible a time limit is when we can't predict the content of the meetings as our sessions flow with General Assembly. Attorney Waller.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add, Attorney Waller?
One of the ways you could deal with that, if you chose to do so, is that you could have a hard stop time, but there could also be a provision where that stop time could be extended by motion, should there be a need to do so. So that's the way you could actually have a stop time, but yet at the same time have some flexibility for extending it.
Thank you, Attorney Waller. I'm going to open the floor for one last round of discussion from anyone. If you have anything, if not, we're ready to vote. Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
My concern is listening to the board. What a lot of people spoke about is consideration of staff. And I just wanted to give a calendar of a staff, and Dr. Gordon, correct me if I'm wrong. Staff arrive in the morning, sometimes 8 a.m. I witnessed one staff staying to about 6-something at night to do payroll. Wow, outstanding. But get off at 5 p.m., meeting start at 6. You have to make a commute through Suffolk. At what point do they have time? Because they have to be prepared in place here at 6. At what time do they get something to eat? That's my thing. Me personally, I don't have to eat the food that's served. I'm fine with not getting a plate. But if we're going to keep staff here build longer than an 8-hour workday, I just ask the board to look at that item a little further before we dismiss that, because that's not on the agenda for us to even be really talking about it. What the agenda topic is scheduling our meetings. So I would ask that Vice Chair Howe add the hard deadline of 9:30 to give us a little more flexibility. That gives us 2 hours and a half to deal with business. If board members continue to communicate with each other like we have done this week, I think we can be more efficient. Also, if board members would get the reports that are submitted, especially with the legislation. At our last legislative meeting, the legislative committee met and we came out with recommendations, but at the meeting, it was picked out and picked apart with one thing that drove it too long. I mean, it's just either you receive the report or not. So it's just understanding what our roles are as it relates to some of the business that we handle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Is there anyone else? Being none, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote for the motion that's on the floor. Say again.
It's the vice chair going to amend her motion. She stated she was interested. She asked for an opinion of Attorney Waller. He stated that we could add a provision where we could increase the time of the meeting by the way of a motion. So I didn't know if the vice chair agreed to amend it or not.
Vice Chair, how are you willing to amend your motion?
Board Chair McGee, at this time, I just want to vote what we have before us. I appreciate the attorney's opinion, but to me, if we can vote to extend the meeting, then we don't need a timeline in the first place. So I'm going to leave my motion as is.
Madam Clerk, can you read the motion, please?
Board Chair Howell moved to have both the first and second school board meetings held each month at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. We're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
No.
Board Member Jenkins?
No.
Board Member Riddick?
No.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, next item on the new business, item number 3, RFP vendor selection.
Chair.
Go ahead.
I have a motion that I would like to make regarding that item.
Before we go to that, I want to back up a little bit. I wanted to announce that the January 29th meeting that we have scheduled, our second meeting, right now, we're going to go ahead and cancel that. There is no work session items to discuss, so we will not be having a January 29th meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
Okay. In regards to the item on the agenda that's at hand, a new business RFP vendor selection, I move that this board suspend its quest to enter into a RFP contract for a forensic audit. And I'm going to stop there, and I can do the discussion later to keep it short for Ms. Gardner. I move that we suspend our quest as a board to move forward with the forensic audit.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Riddick to suspend the request to move forward with the forensic audit. That motion was seconded by Board Member Fields. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for discussion, and prior to allowing board members to speak, I'm going to read a statement. At the December 11, 2025 meeting of the Suffolk School Board, the school board voted to award a contract to Cherry Beckert to perform a forensic audit of the financial practices of Suffolk Public Schools. 15 audit firms submitted proposals in response to request for proposal 1910-P. Recently, it was brought to my attention that all 15 audit proposals were reviewed as required by the Virginia Public Procurement Act, but there was an inadvertent omission to submit paperwork showing that the mandatory rubric was considered when reviewing all 15 proposals. Therefore, in order to protect the integrity of this process, a vote will take place tonight for the appointment of the committee of the school board to once again review all 15 proposals and report to the full school board their first and second choices using the agreed upon rubric and submitting the required paperwork. The Suffolk School Board wants to ensure that a contract is awarded based on the best value, ensuring fairness, transparency, and maximum competition when making the award. In the meantime, the award to Cherry Beckert has been stayed, pending the outcome of the review process. We plan to conduct this review expeditiously with the hope of having a vote to award the auditing contract at the February meeting of the school board. At this time, I'll open the floor for discussion for Mr. Riddick's motion.
Vice Chair, I'll take at it first, and I'm going to try to condense what I have to say. When this audit came about, there were some concerns that were being made. It all started with an athletic director who was alleged to have taken something from the school system, as it was stated by citizens at the dais and repeated by board members. I asked the board back in December that we hold true to our statement and we don't rush the process of awarding a contract. The board did what the board normally does and get bent on moving forward without all the facts, and the board did, and the board awarded a contract, and then we were asked to come back and review a second person to ensure that we were in compliance with the Procurement Act. I can say we did follow what we were given to follow, and I'm going to leave that there. I will say this here. At that time, Vice Chair McGee met with Cherry Beckert to get a working document of how this RFP should be. Board Member Brittingham came with the document. We synthesized the two to move forward with the RFP. Cherry Beckert was chosen. Cherry Beckert just did an audit paid for by the city, and I guess that might be why we was in a haste. But the results just came in that Suffolk Public Schools don't have any reason for a deeper dive. That was the point of the audit. And for those who never served on that committee, I have. And they look at our books, they look at the city books, they compare it with the bank accounts, and they look at everything to see if there is any discrepancies. We had a perfect audit. The city had 5 comments, we didn't. Title I and 6B were also clean at the federal level, no fraud, overspending, or any material weakness found in the audit. This is 10 straight years with 0 comments. This also includes our activity fund. So in our board mission statement, it states that we want to effectively and efficiently manage capital, talking about money, and human resources. This is a waste of both. To put on our finance department the strain of working with someone we have already worked with to get an audit that has said, we're good to go. What else are you looking for that have not been debunked already? So I've watched this more from, we're not trying to catch nobody in nothing. We're not trying to do any embezzlement searches or whatever. But then I listen to the words of board members selectively change. I watched this board tell the public we were going to have a town hall, and I watched the exact same board members come in and say it's no need for one. What I asked in December, we're doing it anyway now. But what I'm asking is that this board cease this foolishness and find another use for this $175,000. And if we are sincere about student achievement, let's put it where it needs to go, the students. And if any board member want to move forward on this quest, we were talking about salaries, I ask that they do and join our chair and forfeit your salary to pay for that request and not put it on our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Riddick. Any other board members?
Yes, I would just like to say I have never voted for the audit in the first place, and we don't even have the money to pay for the audit. So where's the money coming from is my question. And when we did our interview, I was confused how we could hire someone who already said that we have no errors, no problems, but to pay them to find that they made a mistake, because that's basically what we were saying. And so if we have $175,000, we need to spend it on our staff and our students for student achievement. I agree. I concur.
Thank you for that, Board Member Jenkins. Board Member Fields.
I just want to add to that we're talking about looking back 3 years. Within the last 3 years, we've had perfect audits. There has been no misappropriation. I've suggested, and I continue to suggest and recommend that if we have $175,000 to spend, then we either spend it on student services or we spend it on establishing a system that will ensure that no misappropriations can happen going forward. Let's not waste $175,000. That's a lot of money, and it can go a long ways. I also would like to say that not using $175,000 would be a tremendous waste of taxpayer money. We will not, I don't foresee that there's anything that can be found. So I would seriously, I think that we're doing that. What I keep hearing is that we're doing this because some of you on the board ran on that as a campaign promise, that we would do a forensic audit. And you're saying that your constituents are asking for that. Well, I heard tonight that the constituents in your boroughs, the majority of the constituents in your boroughs have not asked for a forensic audit. It's just this group that continues to, I don't know what they're doing. They're tracking the school board, and they're asking for these things. But it's not the constituents from your boroughs. So my recommendation is that we do dismiss the motion for a forensic audit, use those funds to look into the future, to establish something that can work for us in the future. That's what I have to say about it.
Thank you for that feedback, Mrs. Fields. Any other discussion before we vote? Madam Clerk, can you repeat the motion on the floor?
Board Member Riddick moved to suspend the quest to enter into an RFP contract for a forensic audit.
Thank you. We're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham.
No.
Board Member Fields.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins.
Yes.
Board Member Riddick.
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove.
No.
Vice Chair Howell.
No.
Board Chair McGee.
No.
Motion failed.
Board Chair McGee, in regard to this topic, I move that the board approve a special committee to be established to, again, review all 15 proposals and report to the full school board their first and second choices using the agreed-upon rubric and submitting all required paperwork.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to appoint a committee to review all 15 proposals using the agreed-upon rubric and presenting their first and second choices to the full school board. Is that correct?
Yes.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Howell, seconded by Board Member Slinglove. You good, Ms. Gardner? All right, I'm going to open for any discussion.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
What is it you four really want to see? And the reason why I'm asking that is because you hid behind the fact of what the citizens want, and even in this RFP, you don't really fully address what the citizens came to the dais and said they wanted. I pointed it out when we developed the RFP because I requested and submitted a document, so you can FOIA that, the RFI, which actually addressed what the citizens wanted. And what we're asking for is not what the citizens wanted, but I find it baffling. Cherry Bekaert is good enough for you to meet with to get a scope of work. They're good enough to be selected by Vice Chair Howell and I, and then you, whomever else served on that committee. I think it was, Brittingham. Yeah, you served with us. We selected Cherry Bekaert, and now all of a sudden they issue a report, and it doesn't go along with the narrative that 20 people requested for. I don't get it. So can someone, don't give me general, like what is it you really want to see? Because you tell me one thing in private, in public you say another, you say a whole different thing to the media. So what is it?
Are you looking for an answer from me?
I'm looking for an answer from Board Member Slinglove. I would like to hear from her with what she want to see. Board Member Brittingham, Vice Chair Howell, and Chair McGee. No group answers from each of you because it's concerning, it is mind-baffling, and I believe it's just interesting at this point.
Thanks, Mr. Riddick. I'm going to recommend anybody who wants to understand any of those board members mention their stance, go back to last year's agenda, look when this item was discussed, go to our YouTube channel, and watch those videos. And if you have further questions, pick up the phone and call, and we can have a further debate. At this time, does anybody else have discussion on the motion that's on the floor that hasn't already spoke?
Per policy, I get asked again.
Mr. Riddick, go ahead.
My first question is not being answered. This is a political approach that you're taking to deflect from answering the question. You were bold enough to speak in front of the news camera. Can you speak again to your stance now? I don't want to hear you as the spokesperson for the other three board members. They have their own mouth. Let them speak for themselves. Why is it you don't want to speak up? You were adamant that your citizens wanted. You were at a town hall when the citizens said they didn't talk to you. And you were at one too when they said they didn't talk to you. So I'm concerned because this seems like a witch hunt and the evidence does not support this. So I really want to know what is driving this. And I know you volunteered your salary, but is it, can you all give your money to pay for this from your salary and not take it out of the school operations account? Because, I mean, what is it you want? I would like to hear an answer, not a political dance around because you don't like my question. What is the answer?
I appreciate that feedback, Mr. Riddick. Does anybody else have any discussion? Being none, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
No.
Board Member Jenkins?
No.
Board Member Riddick?
I abstain, and as per in compliance with our policy, I want to state my reasons for abstaining. I'm abstaining because the 4 board members don't have a reason as to why they want to move forward that they're willing to share with the public. I believe that it's an ulterior motive that is being at play here at the expense of taxpayer dollars. So that's why I'm abstaining from voting. Please quote me verbatim with what I'm saying. Thank you.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Howell?
Yes.
Board Chair McGee?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. For that committee, I'm going to appoint the vice chair, and I'm going to appoint board member Slinglove. Just for the public record, I reached out to other board members regarding my decision for this, so everybody had feedback from me on my 2 choices. Next item on the agenda under new business, it's going to be this for info only, 26-27 calendar presentation, and at this time I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gordon.
Thank you. I'm going to call to the podium our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Akima Branch, to present our 26-27 calendar presentation. Dr. Branch will provide background on the demographics of the group and calendar committee that made the decisions. As usual, we will bring to the board 2 recommendations for your review. Based on discussion from our agenda review, Chair McGee requested for this to be an info item only for the month of January and to be voted on at the February school board meeting. Dr. Branch?
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, school board members, and the remaining audience, as well as our staff. I am pleased to facilitate the calendar committee yearly as I work with a diverse group of professionals across the division and parents, some of them who have served in no other places but the calendar committee and have committed themselves to being more engaged and engaging in the work that we do here and in the benefit of their children, many different departments. Tonight, as Dr. Gordon mentioned, I will review our calendar committee process and timeline as well as the demographic makeup. And then the 2 calendar options. Really, there is one option that we're bringing forward that was a collective agreement based on multiple meetings as well as additional meetings outside of our standard meetings. And I will present that to you. There were 35 committee members on the calendar committee. 7 administrators, 8 teachers, and 7 parents. We also had 13 departments represented in our meetings, and everyone had voice as well as provided opportunity to reach out in between our meetings to survey staff at other buildings within the community, to ask parents, because we have parents on our committee as well, to do additional work to inform our decision and to draft out our options. Our calendar committee actually has 3 virtual meetings. We meet at 6 p.m. at night after work for most people, including the staff who served here all day and the parents wherever they are working. We met since November, and in between our meetings, there are 4 subgroups from the calendar committee who also meet separately to create, ideate, as well as draft their calendars. We then come back as a calendar committee and do some brainstorming. We do priority setting. We do nice to haves, and if we could, we play a lot of scenarios and put that before the entire group in order to make a decision that is in the best interest of the students. Our focus, and I remind them of this in every meeting, is student success and our student outcomes. It is not about a role, it is not about a teacher, it is not about just a parent, because everyone has a different lens that they come through, that they look through when they're making a decision. And so we really do value the voice of the professionals as well as the parents in our planning and our discussions. We then have long extended meetings when we are looking at everyone's, in their subgroup, everyone's proposed calendar, and then we vote. And as a vote, we're looking at how we can potentially add to possibly a preferred calendar, or take away some things in the best interest of our students and our staff. Our option 1 is the proposed option based on by the majority vote of the committee. And it is some of the priorities. In one of our meetings, we do a full priority setting. And it includes all the nice to haves, but these are things that are non-negotiables that everyone agrees on, and it really is 100% agreement. A full fall break, which was a first for this year, the full week of Thanksgiving, which is our fall break, that Monday through Friday. A full 10-day or 2-week winter break, as we just returned from. Spring break is standard and is built in. The day before Memorial Day, the pre-Memorial Day, having that break and making that a 4-day weekend. Something new to the recommendation for this year was on the 2 transition days that we have in between semesters. For one of those days, of course, to be professional learning division-wide, we do that as a standard. But on the second day, having a parent-teacher conference at elementary and middle school, and because we are on a 4x4 block schedule, having high school having an orientation same day. That is new to the recommendation for both calendar options. And we are committed to allowing our families, as you'll see, there are 3 parent-teacher conference days that are full days. We did that this year, and that works well to allow more parents to engage in parent-teacher conferences on that given day. And usually we've tried to, this year we've had them all on Fridays to have less interruption in our day, in our week. The option differences mainly are, we have to follow the Code of Virginia. There's 180 days or 990 hours. We don't get around that. And so whatever is the additional feedback that may come, we're going to follow the Code of Virginia. We're going to be true to that because we have to be in compliance. We have to meet our instructional hours. We have to, if our students are not in school, those days are not counted. That's code. So we have to adhere to those things. The major difference between the proposed calendars, because the groups did agree and we had an if-then. If we put it in this over here, then we can work it out and we'll agree on this end. The last day in option 1 for teachers as well as students would be Friday, June 4th. In option 2, the last day would go into the Wednesday of the next week, midweek, and be June 9th, based on the number of days they are looking at. That's the major difference between the 2 calendars. Both agreed with the 2 transition days, with the parent-teacher conference and high school orientation day on the 2 transition days, along with professional learning. The majority is pretty much the same. There are some differences in option 2 with one half day being clerical and the other half of that same day being professional learning. That's a difference. I have provided for you, we do a poll that everybody gets to see in our vote. And you'll see that from the poll, this is the option 1. I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Branch. Do any board members have questions for Dr. Branch? Dr. Branch, I had one.
Sure.
For the, where was it at? The second semester high school orientation day, when would that be?
At the end of the semester, when we're transitioning to the second semester. So it's usually after what used to be just the second 9 weeks, it would be at the end of that semester. Typically, that next Monday, as we count the days, that would start the second semester.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Branch. And to give that example, so for this year, our 2 transition days are the 22nd and 23rd. So one of those days would be the orientation day because the second semester officially starts on Monday the 26th.
Thanks for that explanation, Dr. Branch and Dr. Gordon. If there are no questions, I just encourage my colleagues to really share this information, get it out to the school community, get feedback. If there is feedback, reach out, pick up the phone, call Dr. Gordon, have that conversation with him to see if that feedback's even possible before we vote on this next month. Thanks, Dr. Branch. All right, moving to our last item under new business, year-end priorities. Again, I'm going to give the floor to Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. As you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, we have your 2026 fiscal year end projects priorities listed. We're actually giving this to you a month earlier than what we did last year. I want to provide one caveat that I always have to say, that these are the price estimates in January. As a matter of fact, we've actually had a new price for the bus camera systems replacement that we now believe is going to be less than the $600,000 that you see here. These prices still could change by the time decisions have to be made. I do want to point out to the board that we have total cost for all of these projects, if it was a perfect world, would be approximately $15.2 million. What we're kind of looking at right now for estimated surplus as of December 31st is right around $2 million. So that's part of the reason why some tough decisions and choices have to be made. Earlier today at 9:48 a.m., similar to what we did last year and what Mr. McGee, Ms. Howell, and I had talked about during agenda review, was for the staff to be able to provide our top 5 year-end priorities. I communicated and collaborated with Mr. Napier, our Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Planning, and Ms. Forsman, our Chief Financial Officer. In this order for us, number 1 is our replacement of the tennis courts. From the time our tennis season ended last year through probably around after it got too cold, we are realizing that many of the patches and cracks that we have done when we've had to make tough choices in the past are no longer feasible. Our courts, in my opinion, are not safe to play on. So we have actually worked with Nansemond Suffolk Academy. We've worked with our Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you to Mr. Kabler for all your due diligence, Mr. Furlow, our Director of Parks and Rec, in order to be able to provide different practice and game space. We have an RFP out for this right now. And the main caveat, the reason why we put this number 1 is this can only take place if the temperature is more than 60 degrees. So that's the reason why we're trying to get this done, so that we will be prepared for once we return to school in the fall. So that one is actually underway, which is the reason why we put that at number 1, hoping that we'll have the money to complete that and not delay it. I already mentioned the bus camera system replacement. The next ones actually all deal with safety. Replacement of one metal detection system. As when Dr. Brown first brought to you all the importance of our metal detectors, our standalone metal detectors, in order to make sure that we have sustainability, we want to continue to add them on. That also gives us flexibility to have them at more entrances and more places, games, etc. The replacement of the Raptor printers. This is a part of our visitor volunteer check-in system. As we all know, also overall part of our safety plan. The 2% bonus, we're going to talk about this a little bit more on February 26th when Ms. Forsman and I provide you all with our annual budget presentation. This is a part of the second year biennium from Governor Youngkin's outgoing budget. But however, this may change, as Board Member Riddick had discussed earlier, with some things that may occur at the General Assembly. We're actually looking for some potential flexibility there. We have given bonuses in the past, as the board has approved, and we've made those retention bonuses for those folks that have signed on. However, as we all know, bonuses are not a part of the Virginia retirement system. So we'll go into that a little bit more detail once we get to our February 26th budget presentation. But I did want to be able to alert the board to the top 5 year-end priorities, recommendations of staff. Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. At this time, does anybody have any questions for Dr. Gordon? Being no questions, just my recommendation to the board, really go through this, look at what the superintendent's recommending, look at all the priorities, and be prepared to speak to what you support once we vote on this at our meeting when this pops up. All right, that's the last item under new business. Next, we're going to move to public speakers on non-agenda topic.
It is the intent of the school board to ensure that the affairs of the board be conducted in an open and orderly manner, that all persons desiring to address the board are afforded an opportunity to do so in the order in which they signed up to speak, that persons in attendance may observe and hear the proceedings of the board without distraction, and that the members of the board and board employees are able to transact the business of the board with minimal disruption. Any persons addressing the board shall, 1, confine their comments to matters germane to services, policies, and affairs of the school board or Suffolk Public Schools. 2, refrain from words or statements which, from their usual construction and common acceptance, are construed as insults intend to incite violence or breach of the peace. 3, refrain from obscenity, vulgarity, or other breach of respect. 4, comply with the time limit for public comment as set by the board, which can be up to 5 minutes unless the board, through the exercise of its discretion, decides to allow less than 5 minutes for public comment. 5, refrain from cumulative or repetitive remarks. And 6, refrain from making any comment regarding any pending student discipline or employee grievance matters. The appropriate form for such matters is the applicable administrative hearing provided by state law or, where appropriate, court proceeding. Persons must not engage in disorderly, disruptive, or boisterous conduct, such as, but not limited to, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling, or similar demonstrations that interrupts or disturbs the peace and good order of the meeting. Persons addressing the board may deliver to the board or its clerk written materials including reports, statements, exhibits, letters, or signed petitions, and may also make use of any chart or graph during their verbal presentation. The school board welcomes comments from the public as appropriate. School board members will listen to public comments, but will not comment, deliberate, or take action on them. The school board chair may direct the superintendent to investigate items and report back to the school board at a subsequent meeting. The chair or presiding officer shall preserve decorum and shall decide all questions of public order subject to appeal to the board. At the request of the chair, a city police officer shall act as sergeant-at-arms at tonight's board meeting. That officer shall, under the direction of the chair or other presiding officer, have charge of the meeting area, the waiting areas, and corridors adjacent thereto, and shall prevent disorder or interruption of the business of the board. Our speaker is Dr. Judith Brooks Buck regarding policy, Kilby Shores Elementary School.
Good evening again. I'd like to just address one thing. Mr. Riddick, I believe you asked for some questions. What it is, you asked a question, what it is that I understand is going on with regard to the issue of the audit, which is a part of your new policy, is that the Project 2025 agenda is being carried out here, and that includes the resegregation of public schools as well as the charters, the choice, and those kinds of things. So just keep that in mind. One of the issues that I'd like to speak to on the non-agenda item is the, and as well as the policy, is being respectful of different roles and responsibilities of different staff members. In your roles, and in my role as principal, college professor, and school board member, I know that neither of you qualifies to evaluate teachers in Virginia for two reasons: your backgrounds, preparations, licensure, and your current position, whether you have the licensure or not, as school board members. Let me suggest that you stay in your lane and respect the person who is sitting on the dais, and that is your superintendent, your staff, and the audience. It has taken 6 months for the June 14th, 2025 case of the man who ran into Kilby Shores Elementary to get to trial, for the trial judge to determine that he was mentally ill. It will take longer for his trial. In the days that followed the event, many accusations were made against the teacher, staff at the school, and the superintendent and his leadership team that were obviously false. As I recall, Mrs. Byron, Mrs. Jenkins, and I recognized the teacher and the staff in a positive way. Suffolk Police Chief Bowie publicly affirmed that the right steps were taken. The Virginia School Boards Association positively acknowledged the teacher's actions in one of their sessions. However, others here berated the superintendent, called for him to discipline the teacher, and fortunately he did not. The incident had the effect of belittling the teacher, so much so that the teacher did not want to come out before the board and publicly be awarded the gift that I bought for her heroism. Some members even interviewed with television reporters suggesting that the superintendent had a hidden agenda. It took 11 minutes and a few seconds for the police department to remove the sick individual from the school campus. It took the calming and familiar voice of an experienced principal to tell her kindergarten children trapped in a bathroom what to do for those moments. And it took the actions of a heroic teacher and a staff of caring professionals at Kilby Shores Elementary to handle what could have been a horrible situation. Every member of the Suffolk Public Schools family did exactly what they should have done in a bad situation. By the way, no one asked why the man wasn't kept in the hospital. Anyway, 6 months later, some of the board members know what you said and what you did, and the public does too, even though the paper hasn't been quick to talk about that situation. You need to apologize to those persons that you embarrassed. Embrace that Christianity that you loudly profess, and ask yourselves, what would the Lord require of you? Have a blessed evening. Thank you for your time.
There are no more speakers.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move on to business by board members. Continuing how we were doing it last year, each board member will have 5 minutes to speak. I'm going to start down with Ms. Fields. We're going to work our way this way, skipping over myself and the vice chair, moving on to Dawn Marie, and down to Ms. Slinglow. Ms. Fields, you have the mic.
Okay, I'd like to say, first of all, congratulations, Board Chair Sean McGee. Congratulations, Vice Chair Heather Howell. I'm looking forward to a year of collaborative partnership to accomplish the missions of Suffolk Public Schools. Thank you to all the principals in our district for your dedication, leadership, and unwavering commitment to our students and staff. Your hard work truly makes a difference every day. I especially want to say you really rock to the principals in my borough. Creekside Elementary School, Mrs. Pareski, Florence Bowser Elementary School, Dr. Taylor, Northern Shores Elementary School, Dr. Wilkins Banks, Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School, Dr. Wright Davis, Nassau River High School, Dr. Sean Green. Thank you for all that you've done. Please continue to do what you're doing because it's making a difference. I'd like to welcome Miss Kimberly, I think it was Waller, Waholic, as the Director of Special Education. Welcome aboard. I know that you're going to make a difference in the system, and you've joined the right system too, because this one is really good. I'd like to extend, let me say too that the Good News Report is evidence that Suffolk Public Schools is making a tremendous progress towards the future. The accomplishments and awards highlighted are impressive and highly commendable. Thank you to all of our staff, students, and those who support the students for all that you're doing to make Suffolk Public Schools a thriving organization. What you're doing is working, it's making us all look good, and it's benefiting the students. I'd like to say my condolences to the associates, friends, and families of Edward Searle, who was a tutor and a teacher assistant at McBain Elementary School, who passed away on December 17th, and Dorothea Simpson, who was a bus driver who retired after 37 years, who died on January 7th of this year. May I say that okay. I'd like to say thank you for the cooperation that we've had in this meeting. I think that if we are efficient, if we are concise, we can accomplish everything that we set out to accomplish from this dais, and I'm looking forward to us working together for this year. Thank you.
Board Member Jenkins.
Thank you. I'd just like to say tonight's accomplishments, grants, and awards in Suffolk Public School are not simply handed out. They are earned through dedication, hard work, and commitment. They reflect the strength of our outstanding students, exceptional employees, supportive families, and an engaged community. Congratulations to everyone recognized this evening. Please continue to do great work. And remember, every achievement earned through integrity and fairness is something to be proud of and something that lets you rest well at night. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Board Member Britnam.
First, I'd like to start by congratulating all of the athletes that received the VHSL all-state teams. That is quite the accomplishment. I know that they worked hard during the fall season in order to achieve that. Many of them also carry heavy academic loads, so it's even more impressive to see both of those things happening at the same time. I do want to congratulate our new SPED director, Kim Walholic. I hope that she gets to get in there and do some of the things that she wants to put in place. But mostly, I see her heart for the SPED kids and for wanting to bring services to them. And so I just wish her well, and can't wait to see what great things are getting ready to come out of the SPED department. So we're a few weeks out of being back from a Christmas break, and so I just encourage the students to just keep working and striving for excellence. You have everything that you need in front of you. You have the resources provided to you. Many of you are taking heavy academic course loads. You know, congratulations for striving to do that as well. But for those that are choosing arts and fine arts and such things, those are accomplishments as well to be striving for. So finally, I just want to thank our educators and our staff at Suffolk Public Schools. Just keep running that race. I know that we've got a second semester that's just started, but you are the reason why these kids are getting the instruction that they need. And why we have students that are able to succeed and thrive. And thank my board members for another great evening of being able to conduct business, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Riddick.
I'm going to try to keep mine brief. First and foremost, I want to start off with a big shout out and thank you to Miss Tomika Dolman. She works in SPS Finance and Payroll office, and I was amazed. I stopped by to pick up my board packet because our clerk was staying back, always hard at work to make sure that we're able to have the information we need when we need it. And this was after hours, and lo and behold, I see a person coming out of the building, and it was way after hours. And she came out, and I said, "You're just now leaving?" And she said, "I had to get payroll done." That's the type of great people we have here in our city and our school system who go above and beyond to get the job done. And I ask that we do our best to show as much as appreciation as possible. But at this time, I would be remiss if I didn't move forward with some very pressing matters. So I got it written down. We are gathered tonight because the citizens of the Suffolk Borough and our city as a whole deserve clarity, transparency, and accountability from those entrusted to serve them. Recently, serious concerns were raised by members of our community. Formal questions were submitted, yet no answers were provided. Silences, especially in matters that impact the public, only deepens confusion and mistrust. What has further troubled many residents is that despite the refusal to respond of our individuals who did not answer the questions that I posed earlier, were subsequently appointed to positions of responsibility. This sequence of events has left many asking, how were decisions made without public explanation, and why were citizens left out the process? This meeting is an opportunity for your voices to be heard, and we are calling on you, the residents of Suffolk, to come forward and speak openly and share your concerns and your questions and express your concerns. Civic engagement is not just a right, it is a responsibility. And when communication breaks down, democracy suffers. Your presence matters, your voice matters, and together we can insist on transparency, fairness, and leadership that listens to the people it serves. I will also like to take this time and this opportunity to publicly offer my condolences to a dear friend of mine, a co-worker, a lady who took me on as if I was a child of her own, Miss Doretha Simpson, who recently had her funeral on yesterday. This lady served as my bus driver when I started driving school buses to pay for college back in 2011. She was one of the first friendly faces that I greeted at John F. Kennedy, who showed me the ropes. When I felt like giving up serving as a school board member, it was her who would pick up the phone and call me and say, although they are trying to stop you, you keep fighting. We need you. You represent us, the common folk. And the fact that she said those words to me, it meant and still mean a lot to me, to know someone you look up to value the work that you're putting in. Oftentimes in public service, the work you do does not seem like it's making a large impact. But I'm blessed that many of the coworkers who labor with us day in and day out to support the vision of SPS, to make SPS a great institution of learning, they see that I'm an advocate for them. My concerns is that we say we support SPED and that we love SPED and we wish our director well. I would ask that we consider moving $200,000 or $175,000 to the SPED department to address the needs versus spending it on a fictitious witch hunt for misuse of funds that was already debunked. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for those who were calling me. That's why I stepped out regarding the matters that took place tonight. And I will continue to represent you. I will continue to be your voice here on the Suffolk City School Board as long as I have breath in my body and my term is in action. Thank you, and may heaven smile upon you.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Board Member Slingleff.
Thank you, Board Chair McGee. So I am very excited about several items that were in the Good News Report tonight. I am thrilled about the 3 grants, the Virginia Department of Education Innovation Grant, the U.S. Department of Education Comprehension Literacy State Development Grant, and also the $2,000 grant from the Suffolk Foundation to support a 6-month STEM project in Kings Fork Middle School. So I think those are fantastic gifts and treasures that we have as resources in our school division, and I'm very, very excited about that. But I want to take a minute to highlight the fact that these grants don't just fall in our lap. And I don't know exactly who has written all of these grants or has been working on all of it, but Dr. Gordon, I want to commend you and your staff, everyone that has put in the time to fill out these grants, pursue these grants, apply for them, so that we could receive them. I think it's a tremendous blessing to the kids of Suffolk Public Schools, and I just want to shout out to all those that have had their hands in this endeavor. Also, like my colleagues, there were many things that were said tonight that I absolutely agree with. I want to just thank all of the principals for their service and their hard work and leadership here in our division. Also wanted to congratulate the VHSL All-State team athletes that were here tonight. That is just quite an honor, and it's very exciting to see them and to celebrate them. And finally, tonight we looked at the proposed calendar for next year, and I want to just encourage everyone who hears this or who has an opinion on the calendar options to reach out to the board members. You can find our contact information on the website under the school board tab of Suffolk Public Schools. And our telephone numbers are there, our emails are there. Please feel free to reach out, contact us, and let us know your thoughts and your opinions on it, because that matters. Thank you so much, and you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hell.
Good evening and Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back. I think all the kudos and congratulations and thank yous have been extended just about, but I would like especially to thank our IT team for setting up for us and breaking down, and for Ms. Gardner and Mrs. Johnson for all that you pour into these meetings. They would be a hot mess without both groups of people. So my thanks goes there. I don't think that's been covered yet. I just have 2 little brief nuggets that I learned in my first year on the board. One was my own direct observation sitting up here. And then the second one is something that a dear friend shared with me as I struggled to respond to everything, share my heart, dialogue. And so my first statement would be that not everything that you hear up here on this dais is the truth as presented. My second statement would be not everything is worthy of your response. So I think that's a little nugget that even our kids can take with them as they go out in the world and find themselves trying to prove themselves to people who aren't invested in them and their future. With that, I wish you all good night and safe travels home for those in the room.
Thank you. Real fast, I want to give a shout out to our personal family friend, Miss Sarah McDonald from Lakeland High School. She won Citywide High School Teacher of the Year for SPS. Sarah, she runs the biomed program at Lakeland. Great job. Congratulations. I hear all the time from no matter, who I'm talking about, your program and the way you teach, top notch. So congrats, Sarah. Last thing I want to say is to the board, I'm in this new role, it's leadership. I picked up the phone, I've called everybody, but I want you to hear from me publicly. This position carries no more extra weight. All it is a position for me to facilitate a meeting. Your meeting. We are a board. I am one. Without the rest of you, I am nothing. We all represent a borough for the people of Suffolk. My goal this year serving in this seat is to help push you forward, encourage you, get behind you on the things that motivated you to run, the things that you want to see change for the positive here in Suffolk. I feel like that's my job. How can you be seen? How can you be heard? We all represent different zip codes, and I want to make sure every child in this city has a seat at this table. So you hear that from me. The second thing, I want to hold myself accountable to you. We're not always going to agree on everything, and that's great. That's what makes us great as people. I love great banter. I have no problem going back and forth. I believe in iron sharpening iron. That's what makes us unique as people. That's how we grow, hearing different things. But what I do ask of you is, if I'm doing something out of line, if I'm doing something unprofessional, pick up the phone, pull me to the side, have that face-to-face conversation with me. We're all adults. That's what I expect of you. The other thing I expect of this board, treat everybody around you as professionals. Respect everyone. You don't have to agree with them, but respect them. Keep it above the waist. Respect the superintendent. With that being said, I have nothing else for my comments. The last items remaining, we have some information items. Before we move on, I did want to give Dr. Gordon a chance to speak to the 2 deaths we had. If there's anything you wanted to say.
First, I want to, thank Ms. Gardner for always getting the information. Thank you to our leads and our departments. As you all can see, anytime that we have SPS condolences, this shows the family atmosphere, because sometimes we've had people that have passed away that have left us a few years ago. And I think the heartfelt story that Mr. Riddick shared about Ms. Simpson, that's just, who she was. And even when we have had people that have only been with us for a short period of time, like Mr. Searle, that's also part of our family. And that's why we have people, Mr. McGee and the rest of our board members, who sometimes have left SPS and have come back. Ms. Warholic was a great example of that. When she went to another school division next door to us, but came back to us. So to me, it just shows that family atmosphere that we continue to promote. It's always hard when we get those emails, and the only thing I can really do is appreciate the fact that even after people leave us, their family members still keep in touch. And to me, that's what it's really all about.
I appreciate that, Dr. Gordon. And if the board doesn't mind, I say we take a moment of silence in honor of those 2 deaths at this time. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. I'll see you guys in February.